मैंने कुछ लिखा है और मैं इसको संक्षेप में पढ़ लूँगी और कोशिश भी करूँगी हिंदी में अनुवाद करने की.
Speak loudly.
The name of this piece, which will be published, I will give it to someone to be published. It's called #MeTooUrbanNaxal. So this morning's papers settle something that we have been debating for a while. कि आज का अखबार में एक हमारा जो डिस्कशन है उसका सेटल हो जाते हैं. On the front page of Indian Express, it says, I quote, "Police say to the court, those held are part of an anti-fascist plot to overthrow the government." Which means, of course, that the police are admitting that we have a fascist government, and so we can only overthrow it with an anti-fascist plot. So that's a good thing. At least we have some clarity. To belong to a minority is a crime. To be murdered is a crime. To be lynched is a crime. To be poor is a crime. To defend the poor is to plot to overthrow the government. When the Pune police conducted simultaneous raids on the homes of well-known activists, poets, lawyers, priests across the country and arrested 5 people, high-profile civil rights defenders on ludicrous charges with little or no paperwork, the government would have known it was stirring up outrage. अब मैं ये कहना चाहती हूँ कि सरकार को पहले से ही पता है कि अगर वो ये काम करेंगे तो बहुत ही बड़ा रिएक्शन होगा, और उन्होंने ये रिएक्शन लेके ही किया है. उनको पता था कि ये प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस होगा, उनको पता था कि हम लोग सब आगे आएंगे, फिर भी उन्होंने ये किया. तो वो लोग क्यों चाहते थे कि इतना बड़ा एक रिएक्शन हो जाए? Recent analysis of real voter data as well as the Lokniti CSDS ABP Mood of the Nation survey have shown that the BJP and the Prime Minister Narendra Modi are losing popularity at an alarming rate for them. अगर आप ये सारा जो एनालिसिस देखेंगे तो बहुत ही जल्दी से उनका पॉपुलैरिटी नीचे जा रही है. और हमें पता है 2002 गुजरात से लेके जहाँ पे भी दंगे हुए हैं, सबसे खतरनाक माहौल यही होता है जब रूलिंग पार्टी का पावर और पॉपुलैरिटी गिर रहे हैं, तब सबसे बहुत खतरा का माहौल बनता है. This means we are living in dangerous times, and there will be a ruthless and continuous attempt to divert attention from the reasons for this loss of popularity and to fracture the growing solidarity of the opposition. From now to the elections, it will be a continuous circus of arrests, assassinations, lynching, bomb attacks, false flag attacks, riots, and pogroms. We have learned to connect the approach of elections with the approach of all kinds of violence. अभी हमें पता है कि डेमोक्रेसी में जब इलेक्शन आते हैं तब हिंसा बढ़ती है. डिवाइड एंड रूल तो बहुत पुराना एक तरीका है, but now it's divert and rule. We will not know from when, from where, and how, and what kind of fireball is going to fall on us. So before I speak about the arrest of the activists and lawyers, let me just reiterate a few points that we must not allow our attention to stray from, even while it rains fire and strange events befall us. तो जैसे ये हो रहे हैं अरेस्ट, लेकिन हमें वही चीज़ दौड़ाना दोबारा जो वो हमें डिस्ट्रैक्ट करना चाहते हैं. It has been 1 year and 9 months since November 8, 2016, when Prime Minister Modi appeared on TV, perhaps without the knowledge of his own cabinet, and announced the policy of demonetization of 80% of the currency in circulation. His own cabinet seems to have been taken by surprise. Now the Reserve Bank has announced that 99% of the currency has been returned. The Guardian has done a story saying that demonetization likely reduced the GDP by 1%, likely caused a loss of 1.5 million jobs. 1.5 million jobs. Just printing the new currency is thousands of crores. After demonetization came the goods and services tax, structured in ways that have dealt a body blow to small and medium business. While the poor have suffered enormously, several corporations close to the BJP have multiplied their wealth several times over. Businessmen like Vijay Mallya and Nirav Modi have been permitted to decamp with thousands of crores of public money while the government looked away. What kind of accountability can we expect from this? इस सब का नतीजा क्या होगा? कुछ नहीं, जीरो. मतलब लोगों के पॉकेट मार हुआ है. उन्होंने कहा कि हर आदमी और औरत के अकाउंट में 15 लाख मिलेगा अगर बीजेपी सत्ता में आती है. उल्टा उन्होंने गरीब लोगों के हाथ में पॉकेट में हाथ डाल के पॉकेट मार हुआ है. Through all of this, as it prepares for the 2019 elections, the BJP has emerged by far the wealthiest political party in India. Outrageously, electoral bonds ensure that the source of the wealth of political parties can remain anonymous. So they have the money, they have the EVMs, they have the voter lists. We have to see what to do about the coming elections. We all remember the farce in Mumbai at the Make in India event inaugurated by Modi in 2016, when a massive fire burned down the tent, the Make in India tent. But the real fire of Make in India is the new Rafale aircraft carrier deal. The Prime Minister once again announced this deal in Paris against all known protocol, without seemingly the knowledge of his own defense minister. We know the bare bones. A deal had been put in place in 2012 under the Congress-led UPA, in which the government would buy planes assembled, and those will be assembled by Hindustan Aeronauticals. But instead you have a new deal announced by the BJP. The opposition has said that there is corruption on an unimaginable scale and have accused the government of giving the contract to Anil Ambani's Reliance, which has never built a plane in its life. The opposition has demanded a joint parliamentary committee probe. Can we expect one? Or must we swallow this whole fleet of planes along with everything else and not even gulp? Third, the investigation by the Karnataka police into the mass murder, the assassination of Gauri Lankesh, has unveiled several Hindu right-wing organizations like the Sanatan Sansthan. What has emerged is the existence of a shadowy, full-blown terror network with hit lists, hideouts, safe houses, with arms, with ammunition and plans to bomb, kill and poison people. How many of these groups do we know about? How many are working in secret still, with the assurance that they have the blessings of the powerful and probably even the police? With the elections coming, what plans do they have in store for us? What false flag attacks? What real ones? Where will they be? In Kashmir, in Ayodhya, in the Kumbh Mela? How easily they can derail everything with some minor or major attack that are then amplified by the pet media houses. To divert attention from this, the real threat, we have the hue and cry over the recent arrests. Fourth, the speed at which education institutions are being dismantled. JNU is being taken apart in front of our own eyes. We have seen how both the students and the teachers have been discredited. We have seen defamation campaigns by mainstream media against students, lies, false videos. All of it has led to, as Prashant said, the beating up of Kanhaiya Kumar, the near attempted assassination of Omar Khalid. Who is going to be responsible for this? But even more serious than this is the rapid privatization of education. This policy is actually nothing else but the re-Brahminization of education. By privatizing education, by raising the fees, even the smallest benefits of reservation are now being denied to SC, ST and OBC candidates. They are being pushed out at an alarming pace. So this whole thing of Hinduizing textbooks and turning it over to corporates is going to create a level of cretinization that we cannot recover from. And so now I come to the recent arrests. All of the people here have spoken about them, so we know how illegal they are. But let us not forget that arresting lawyers, public interest lawyers, human rights lawyers and human rights activists, you arrest 5 lawyers and 5 activists. In effect, you are actually isolating populations of lakhs of people because these are their representatives. So by arresting these people, you're arresting and silencing and stripping away the constitutional rights of whole populations. So when they arrested people accusing them of participating in the Elgar Parishad, as Jignesh has said, it is a way of discrediting the rising Dalit aspirations. So, see, it's difficult for governments in the past, the UPA government as well as the BJP. Oh God, my throat is gone. They need to call Adivasis and Dalits who are active Naxals because they also want to divide this. Can you just read it out for me? The last thing.
It has been important for governments, both the Congress-led UPA and now the BJP, to disguise their attacks on Adivasis in Jharkhand, Andhra Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, and now, in the case of the BJP, their attack on Dalits as an attack on Maoists or Naxals. This is because, unlike in the case of Muslims who have almost been erased from political arithmetic, all political parties do have an eye on those constituencies as potential vote banks. The arrest of these 10 people, 3 lawyers and 7 well-known activists, also serves to cut a whole population of vulnerable people
from
any hope of justice or representation. Because these were the representatives. When they arrested Dr. Binayak Sen, Professor Sai Baba stood up for him. When they arrested Sai Baba, Rona Wilson stood up for him. Surendra Gadgil was his lawyer. When they arrested Rona and Gadgil, the others stood up from them. And so it goes. The vulnerable are...
Right, well, you can see out there a number of people, including Arundhati Roy and Jignesh Bhavani, coming together at the Press Club of India in the national capital to basically almost attack the government on all its policies. Most recently, the 5 people that have been arrested, activists, writers, poets, or even a priest, in fact, that includes actually 5 others who have been raided but not arrested. And Arundhati Roy is speaking on that, and perhaps the most significant point of what she said is that she has also brought up the Rafale deal and accused the government and the Prime Minister of avoiding all kinds of protocols in these kind of defense deals. That perhaps is not something that even the media expected, as the media is there to hear about the arrest. But let's listen to her once again. As
the Adivasi community who are being called Maoists, now the Dalits are being included, and anyone who supports them. So we do have a situation in which, as I said in a statement yesterday, it is a coup against the Constitution. It is a very dire situation, potentially more dangerous than the emergency, because the emergency was declared supposedly to implement law and order and implement the Constitution, although of course it was violating people's of course it was violating people's civil rights. But this situation is in order to overturn the constitution. It is in order to declare that this is a Hindu Rashtra, an upper caste Hindu Rashtra, in which all minorities and everyone else who does not agree with this majoritarian point of view is criminalized. Thank you.
Thank you.